They say no one betrays suddenly, only unnoticed. In relationships, betrayal is rarely an event. It's a pattern that builds quietly, disguised as distance, silence, or politeness. Every unfaithful woman leaves traces of her shift long before the truth becomes visible. The signs are not always dramatic. Sometimes they're subtle changes in tone, energy, or attention. Today, we're not here to point fingers or breed suspicion. We're here to understand. Through the lens of female psychology and the calm discipline of Stoicism, we'll explore what emotional withdrawal really means and how to recognize it without losing your peace. Before we start, here's a question for you. Do you believe that people truly change, or do they simply reveal who they've been all along? Think about that as we go on. Because when trust breaks, it doesn't happen by chance. It's the slow unraveling of emotional truth. A Stoic would say that noticing change is not a reason for anger, but for awareness. Awareness, after all, is what keeps the wise man calm while others collapse in confusion. Unfaithfulness is not only physical, it's psychological. It begins with divided attention, inconsistent emotion, and the quiet erosion of respect. The woman who once sought your presence now seeks her own freedom, and her energy tells you long before her words do. Nietzsche once said, "I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that I can no longer believe you." That loss of belief, the subtle shift from trust to doubt, is where most relationships truly end. This discussion is not meant to harden your heart, but to sharpen your understanding. Because recognizing signs is not about control, it's about clarity. The Stoics taught that wisdom means seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. And when it comes to love and loyalty, that clarity is often the difference between suffering blindly and walking away with dignity. Welcome to seductive wisdom, where emotion meets reason and truth is never dressed to comfort. Long before a woman becomes unfaithful in action, she becomes unfaithful in attention. Emotional distance is almost always the first sign. It doesn't arrive suddenly. It unfolds quietly. She stops asking how your day was, her laughter shortens, and her eyes no longer rest on you when you speak. What once felt warm and easy now feels polite and distant. In female psychology, this is the earliest phase of detachment. Her emotions begin to retreat long before her body does, and her silence becomes louder than any argument could. When a woman's feelings shift, her presence changes too. You'll notice less curiosity, fewer small gestures of affection, and a strange sense that she's in the room but not really there. A Stoic would remind you not to chase that presence, but to observe it. Emotionally, she's withdrawing her investment. She no longer feels the same need to be understood or seen by you, because her mind has started building emotional distance as protection or preparation. In her world, this isn't cruelty, it's instinct. Nietzsche once wrote, "What is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil." When her love fades, so does that moral boundary. The loyalty that once came effortlessly becomes optional. But this isn't a moment for anger, it's a moment for awareness. The Stoic principle of observation teaches us to see the change without judgment. It's not about decoding every text or tone, it's about recognizing that something real has shifted and facing that truth with composure. Emotional distance doesn't mean the relationship has ended, but it means the bond has changed. Once her emotional energy moves elsewhere, words and promises lose weight. The wise response is not to beg for closeness, but to regain clarity within yourself. A Stoic man accepts what he sees, not because he's indifferent, but because he values truth over comfort. The first sign is always emotional withdrawal, and those who choose to ignore it usually end up confusing hope with reality. When emotional distance takes root, it begins to express itself in the physical world. Habits shift, timing changes, priorities rearrange. The woman who once built her day around shared moments now fills her schedule with vague explanations. Busy, tired, just needs space. What's really happening is that her energy has been redirected. In psychology, attention is the truest form of affection. Where attention flows, emotion follows. When her focus no longer rests on you, it's already resting somewhere else, on a thought, a feeling, or perhaps another person. You'll notice it in small things first. Texts become shorter, conversations less detailed. The curiosity that once defined her connection fades into surface-level talk. The energy of presence, her tone, her timing, her patience, changes. A Stoic observer doesn't react to these details emotionally. He reads them as signals. To the undisciplined mind, every change feels like rejection. But to the disciplined one, every change is information. Stoicism teaches that attachment to routine blinds you to truth, while acceptance frees you to see it clearly. Nietzsche described human behavior as the expression of hidden motives dressed as daily habits. When her routine shifts, those habits are no longer random. They are revelations. Late replies, distracted thoughts, and inconsistent moods are not about time. They're about investment. A person's schedule always follows their priorities, and when affection dies, time follows it out the door. The modern tendency is to justify these changes as stress or busyness. But deep down, you know when something real has changed. The Stoic response is not paranoia or confrontation, but clarity. Observe her actions without forcing explanations. If she wants to be elsewhere, your demand for answers will only push her further. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. The discipline is to focus not on reclaiming her attention, but on reclaiming your own balance. Routine reveals truth more honestly than words, and those who learn to read it no longer fear it. The next stage in an unfaithful woman's detachment is not absence, it's secrecy. When words stop matching behavior, you're no longer dealing with miscommunication, you're witnessing concealment. Conversations that once flowed easily now feel edited. Questions are met with vague answers or defensive tones. Plans are made without clarity, messages are shorter, and honesty becomes selective. In female psychology, this pattern isn't random. It's a psychological barrier built to protect a new emotional investment. She's not lying out of cruelty, she's lying to maintain control of a shifting truth. Secrecy often begins with emotional privacy. You'll notice she shares less about her thoughts, feelings, or daily experiences. Where openness once existed, now there's hesitation. This silence is not always guilt, it's emotional redirection. She's no longer using you as her emotional anchor, and that vacuum feels cold because it's deliberate. A Stoic perspective reminds you that concealment is not your enemy. It's simply the end of transparency. What you're witnessing is her attempt to manage two realities, the one she's leaving and the one she's moving toward. Nietzsche wrote, "We don't lie the most with words, but with our lives." Actions that once spoke of connection now echo with avoidance. The tone of affection fades into politeness. Touch becomes mechanical or disappears entirely. This contradiction, warm words, cold actions, is the clearest indicator of fading truth. To confront it emotionally is to lose composure. To see it clearly without illusion is to begin reclaiming power. Stoicism teaches that people reveal themselves not through their promises but through their consistency. The disciplined mind does not chase explanations, it accepts alignment as proof and misalignment as truth. When words and actions diverge, no confession is needed. Reality has already spoken. Your role is not to fix or experience, to recognize. Once secrecy enters the dynamic, trust has already exited quietly. The Stoic response is simple: acknowledge the shift, protect your peace, and let the truth reveal itself in time. Those who live honestly never need to hide. Those who hide have already chosen distance over connection. Once deception or detachment becomes visible, most people react with emotion, anger, pleading, or despair. But the Stoic response is different. It begins with observation, not reaction. A Stoic does not deny pain. He disciplines it. He understands that suffering comes not from what happens, but from how he interprets it. When faced with betrayal, the untrained mind seeks justice or closure. The trained mind seeks understanding. The goal is not to win an argument or force honesty. It's to remain whole when truth breaks the illusion. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Applied to relationships, this means that her actions are beyond your control, but your dignity is not. You cannot govern her choices, her honesty, or her loyalty. What you can govern is your response. A Stoic refuses to let betrayal define him. Instead, he studies it, learns from it, and uses it to sharpen his perception of human nature. Emotional control is not numbness, it's clarity under pressure. The Stoics believe that truth, even painful truth, purifies the soul. Seeing what is real frees you from the trap of false hope. When a woman's loyalty fades, it doesn't mean she has destroyed your worth. It means reality has shifted. You can either resist it and suffer, or accept it and evolve. The moment you stop demanding that others behave ideally, you begin to live freely. Detachment in this sense is not indifference. It's alignment with truth. Nietzsche echoed this sentiment when he said, "The snake which cannot shed its skin perishes." Letting go of what no longer fits you, whether it's illusion, attachment, or denial, is not weakness, it's renewal. The Stoic response to unfaithfulness is not revenge or despair, it's transformation. You don't lose when someone betrays you. You lose when you allow betrayal to steal your reason. The wise man sees deception, accepts it, and walks away intact, carrying wisdom where pain once lived. Betrayal, for most people, becomes a story of loss. For the Stoic, it becomes a lesson in liberation. The moment someone shows you who they are, they free you from illusion. That clarity is painful, but it's also purifying. Stoicism teaches that life's hardest moments are not punishments. They are invitations to grow stronger in reason, restraint, and self-respect. An unfaithful partner doesn't destroy your worth. She only reveals where your attachment blinded your judgment. Once that blindness is gone, freedom begins. In the philosophy of the Stoics, pain has a purpose: to reveal the limits of control. You cannot force loyalty, nor can you preserve love that has already left. But you can discipline your mind to interpret loss as information. Marcus Aurelius would say that every event is neutral until you label it. When betrayal occurs, you can call it tragedy, or you can call it clarity. The label decides whether you stay broken or become wiser. The difference lies in perspective, not in circumstance. Nietzsche understood this too when he wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." When you turn betrayal into strength, you discover your why: to live with truth, not illusion. To love with awareness, not dependency. Every heartbreak can refine your discernment if you let it. Emotional discipline does not mean suppressing pain. It means giving pain a purpose. When you process betrayal through reason, it no longer controls you. It teaches you. In the end, Stoicism doesn't promise that you'll avoid hurt. It promises that hurt will no longer own you. The woman who betrayed you only tested the steadiness of your mind. The real victory is not in proving her wrong, but in remaining whole. To let go with calmness is to reclaim power. The Stoic doesn't chase closure, he becomes it. Betrayal, when seen clearly, ceases to be an ending. It becomes the beginning of mastery over the self. Betrayal is one of the oldest human experiences, yet it still catches us unprepared. We think loyalty is guaranteed, that affection will last simply because it once felt strong. But the Stoics, and thinkers like Nietzsche, understood something deeper. Everything in life is temporary, and only wisdom determines how you endure its changes. When someone is unfaithful, they don't just reveal who they are. They reveal what you must now become. Awareness replaces anger, and strength replaces illusion. The Stoic does not chase revenge or closure, he practices acceptance. You can't control deceit, but you can control your dignity. You can't force love to return, but you can stop betraying yourself by denying truth. Once you understand that peace comes from clarity, not comfort, betrayal loses its power to destroy. Pain remains, but it no longer defines you. It refines you. So ask yourself this: when trust breaks, will you break with it, or will you rise above it? Can you stay steady while everything you believed collapses? That's the measure of true strength. A Stoic's calm is not a mask. It's the product of understanding that no one can take from you what you never surrendered: your reason, your self-respect, your peace. If this reflection made you see things differently, write seductive wisdom in the comments to show that you've reached this point of awareness. Because wisdom isn't found in comfort, it's found in truth, even when that truth hurts.